I've always had a passion for being around and learning about animals. When I was younger, going to zoos and animal parks was always a part of my life. I wanted to share my passion with family and friends, so I started working with people that loved animals as much as I did, and my YouTube channel was born.
Welcome back to my Animal Education series. Today I'm here with Justin at the St. Louis Zoo. Hello.
Hi guys, how you doing?
So, what do we have behind us?
So these are Armenian Vipers. We currently have 2 males and 4 females in this exhibit. Armenian Vipers are a small viper species, as the name implies. They're from Armenia and some of the neighboring countries in the Caucasus as well. They are a threatened species and their populations have declined substantially over the last couple decades. So.
How much have they grown?
So we're not 100% sure because a lot of places where they live is really hard to get into. It's really hard to do field research, but we can estimate that their populations in some localities have declined by between 16 to 80% over the last 10 years or 20 years.
That's a huge drop.
Yeah, for sure.
So what's being done to help these vipers?
So here at the zoo, we're doing quite a bit. We're doing field work, so we're actually going to Armenia, dealing with local groups of people that live side by side with these animals, making sure they're aware of the venomous snakes versus the non-venomous snakes that live in these areas, and showing them how to live side by side with them. Because having snakes around, especially if you have agricultural, zones, it's nice to have snakes around. Because they're rodents which eat your crops. So if we can teach these people how to live side by side with them and not fear them, it works out good for everyone. It works out good for the snakes. It works out good for the people. We're also doing population monitoring by going to all the different localities where these guys live in Armenia and keeping track of how many snakes there were this year versus last year versus in the future. And by keeping track each year and doing these sampling measures, we can kind of judge whether or not populations are decreasing or increasing over time.
So how's your experience over there?
So it's been good. I work with the Armenian Vipers here at the zoo, and they're a really fun little snake to work with in captivity. They're very personable, pugnacious to an extent, but they're beautiful little snakes. The red markings on the black and gray backdrop of the body, they're awesome little animals. But the field work in Armenia is fantastic too. It's a beautiful country, very friendly place. We have visited quite a few different parts of the country, so all the way to the northern portion, all the way down the southern portion, along the Iranian border. And it's been great experiences. We find lots of snakes, and talking to the people that work with them and live next to them, it's very rewarding.
So what kind of environment can you find them in?
So they inhabit lots of different habitat types. They will typically be found in mountain ranges, but depending on where you are, they're either at a lower elevation or at a higher elevation. So we can find them, upwards of around 1,500 meters all the way up to 3,000 to 4,000 meters above sea level. The lower elevation populations, it's more like a rocky, mountainous, desert, scrubby steppe almost, and then as you get higher, it's more of a grass, meadow type habitat.
Will that explain the mural behind?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and this mural was actually, we had photographs that we took in Armenia at one of the field sites that's at a higher elevation where it's very grassy and lush and wet. We had our mural artist paint this mural behind us. Yeah.
So is there any difference in appearance between these different elevations?
Yeah, so the lower elevation groups of animals, they'll typically have more of a gray backdrop on them, so they'll still have the red there, but they're more gray, and then as you get higher and higher up in the mountains, they get darker and darker and darker. And that helps a lot with, the higher up in the mountains you get, it gets cooler, right? So if you're darker, you can absorb more heat, and you can heat yourself up a little faster, and that's a nice adaptation to have at these higher elevations.
So what will these snakes eat in the wild?
They have a very varied diet, actually. So baby snakes, they'll eat, small lizards, bugs, actually, so they'll eat a lot of grasshoppers and stuff like that. As they get bigger, they'll eat rodents, so mice, just like we have around here, snakes like to eat mice. They'll eat something called a gerb, which is sort of kind of like a gerbil, different voles, things like that. And they'll eat birds from time to time, too. Some researchers have found them in short vegetation, waiting for birds to come and roost in the tree so they can grab on.
And how big do these snakes get?
They're not a big viper species. It's very rare to find one over 35 inches. They stay smaller, and they're more of a slender-bodied species as well. Males get bigger, which works out well because during the breeding season, when males want to breed with females, they'll combat with one another, a lot like our copperheads and timber rattlesnakes do around here. They'll race up against one another and, you know, see who's bigger and try to push each other down to the ground, and whoever comes out of that is the winner and gets to breed with all the females there. So males are bigger than the females, but females still, it's a noticeable difference, but females can still get fairly...
Well, big for this species.
Big for the, yeah, exactly, big for this species. Breeding them is a little more difficult. To get them to breed, we have to drop temperatures down in the winter to be a little on the cooler side. That way it induces a natural hibernation or brumation. Come spring, we'll warm the temperatures back up, and then they're ready to go back to eating and hopefully breeding, and we'll produce baby vipers here. We've been very successful breeding not only the Armenian viper, but other different species of viper here at the zoo. So.
And you were explaining about off camera that sometimes we would introduce another male to kind of get territorial.
Yeah, and like I was explaining how they'll combat like that sometimes. In a captive situation, sometime that works really well, we'll put in an additional male. You know, if a male we have isn't necessarily too keen on wanting to breed, by putting an additional male, either that male can breed with those particular females, or they can combat amongst one another, and you know, our odds are a little higher that way with getting offspring, which is good because we work with the AZA's species survival plan and stud book with Armenian Vipers to ensure that their captive genetics are as varied as possible, so that way we can make sure we have these guys in captivity for all of time.
What's one of your favorite things about these snakes?
They're cool, man. They're beautiful. I mean, it's weird. A lot of people, you know, you're an animal person, but most people, when you tell them, oh, that's a beautiful snake, they think that's weird. But like, they're beautiful. Like the way they're red crisscrosses with the black and the gray. You know, their white stripes down their eyes. They're really pretty little snakes. Their natural history is really cool. Like being able to find them at such a variety of different elevations and habitat types. And I mean, the habitat itself is beautiful. So I mean, they're neat little snakes. I really like.
And it really sucks on how the population is dropping.
It's a shame, but hopefully, along with the work that we're doing and the work that our colleagues in Armenia and neighboring regions are doing, hopefully, you know, we'll continue to conserve them and make sure they're around for quite a while.
So I'd definitely love to see these snakes grow in populations and become even more popular.
Oh yeah, absolutely, for sure. Yeah.
Awesome little snakes.
Yeah, they're neat. They're awesome.
Well, thank you so much for telling us about Vipers.
Absolutely.
And if you guys enjoyed this episode, don't forget to leave a big thumbs up down below, subscribe to my channel, and also check out my Instagram @Culture. As always, I'll see you next week.